Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today, I have with me writer and director of a new movie that's in post production right now. It's called Without a Name. I have Emmett Laverty with me today. Emmett, how's it going, my friend?
So far, so good.
Thank you for coming onto the Horror Room. So, tell us a little bit about Without a Name.
Um, it's a it's about a man and his son who are they think they're just going fishing, and they stop in a small town and stay at a motel. And while the man is out getting some breakfast, his son is lured away uh, by some guys who are in a cult that's nearby, and so the cult the basically they make the cult sound really attractive to the boy, and so he joins the cult, and he's having the time of his life. And of course his father is has no idea what happened to him, and so he finds out more about the cult and what they're doing. And he goes tries to rescue his son, and along the way he meets a young woman whose daughter is in the cult. So they team up to try to get their kids out. And it's a thriller. Uh, it's it's um, it's about a lot of things, but we try to lean into the nightmare that any parent would feel of having their kid just gone. Just
Yeah.
no trace, no clue, just what happened to my kid. And so um and it gets a little worse after that, because the father realizes that his son is actually pretty happy, and he is there because he wants to be. And so there's a bit of a clash of wills. And because there's something about the cult, which is that if you it's all geared toward young people. So once you reach the age of 40, the deal you make with the cult is they kill you.
Wow.
Um, and to a kid, that 40 seems like a million, like it'll never happen, like most
Yeah.
kids. So the kids are all like, "This is great. I'm having a time of my life." And anyway, so it's anyway, that's the story. And we think we got something pretty good going there.
That's an interesting story. Now, how long did it take production wise?
Filming lasted about 2 weeks. Um, we filmed it in southern Wisconsin, using local actors who were great. And then ever since then, it's been in post now for 9 months. Well, yeah, a little longer than 9 months, which is longer than I'd like. But we're trying some really ambitious things. There's some visual effects, there's some atmospheric stuff. I mean, we don't want to just knock it out and go move on to the next one. We want to it's a chance to really. The nice thing about being in super low budget is that um nobody so we do have some investors, but it's not an expensive film, so we don't have a lot of people beating our door down going, "Hey, where's my money?"
Exactly.
Why isn't this thing finished? People are like, "Oh, you're still working on that? Okay, cool. Let us know how it turns out." So we don't have a lot of pressure on us in that way. And so you've heard you probably heard the thing people say, which is uh, good, fast, and cheap. You can't get all three.
You can't.
so so we're going, all right, well, we're gonna go good and cheap. And
Yeah. Now, is it hard not to So I'm assuming you're going the film festival route, which is to drum up interest into the movie, and which is always great. But is it hard as a filmmaker, especially an indie filmmaker, to go the fast route and go straight to streaming service or distributor and get it out there as soon as possible?
You know, I used to think that that film festivals was the only route for low budget, but um, I've been participating in a bunch of groups on Facebook that are, centered around Tubi, the streaming service. And as far as I can tell, people in some of these groups are building followings, and the groups are saying, "Hey, we love part one. Where's part two?" Like,
Yeah.
and people, and the filmmakers are making the films and pumping them out, and I'm just thinking, if you've got income, because Tubi does pay, and some people are apparently earning a decent amount of money on it. So if you've got the income from the exhibition source, uh, why spend the money on festivals if you can just go right to in this case, to Tubi, and deliver it to the audience that's waiting for it. I don't have I don't have an audience waiting for my films that I know of yet, but I'm hoping that this one might build, or
Well,
at
one
least
day.
take some steps. Yeah.
I'm in those same Tubi groups, and what you're saying is completely correct. Like they, a lot of these Tubi directors and filmmakers, they have a cult following, and they follow them for every single project they do. They post a
Yeah.
project, and then they have hundreds of comments, and oh my goodness, I can't wait till part two. What's going to happen in the next one? And it's amazing that Tubi is kind of helping indie filmmakers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's sort of a dream come true. Um, and I actually had a distributor say to me a couple of years ago, um, basically he said, spend as little he said to spend as little money in your movie as possible, because the more you spend, the further you have to go before you break even and before you get into profit. And I was kind of like, well, you got to spend something, so
Mhm.
um but uh so me and my partners have been trying to make it our mantra to, without having something that's going to be bad looking or just bad, we're going to try to spend as little as possible, um but we want to pay everybody. I mean, we're paying people, feeding them, that kind of thing. It's not all donated, but we're going to try to spend as little money as possible so that we can at least keep this thing going, rather than spending a whole bunch of money on one big project and then having it not work out, and you kind of go, all right, I'm going to take my ball and go home and do something else for the rest of my life. I don't see that as I don't see it a choice. I don't see that I have a choice to be anything other than a filmmaker. I've tried so many other things, and I've never been happier than I am as I am making movies. So I'm
That's all.
gonna just keep going.
Keep on going. I mean, that's
Yeah.
now.
Um,
Now, the question: since it's so easy now to get your movies out for a low price, quick, fast, and on to streaming service, do you think it waters down the market? Let's say in indie movies when it comes to, especially when it comes to horror, because I've seen a lot of filmmakers say, "Oh yeah, I wrote a script in one day and then I filmed it in one day and I put it out and it looks like that."
yeah, I'm hoping that the audience isn't going to stand for it too much. I mean, I actually had an interesting conversation with another filmmaker uh, last week, and she said, yeah, I said, it seems like some of these groups, they're really embracing some pretty bad films, and I don't know what to make of that. And she goes, "Oh yeah," she says, "that's part of the fun is seeing all the bad ones too." And I thought, well, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe there's a place for everybody. Um,
Mhm.
I I'm like, if somebody were to say, "What's this movie without a name?" Like, what would you wish it to be compared to? I would I would wish that it would be compared to something like Silence of the Lambs. I mean, that's that's what I'm aiming for. I'm not aiming for killer clowns from outer space, although that's probably a really fun movie.
It is a fun movie.
And I'd like to try, I'd like to try one of those too down the line. But I mean, I'm just saying, you know, I'm trying for something that's I'm aiming high, and but you know, it's also project by project because I'm also working on another comedy feature, and then my partners and I are going to make another thrillamedy, if you've ever heard that expression, comedy thriller, that's going to be shot a year from now in Wisconsin again, because we've made some friends there, and and like with each one of these things, we're trying to we're just trying to do something really good.
Mhm.
Um, but on the other hand, if somebody said, "Hey, I just made, slugs from Mars, would you please edit it?" or something like that, why not? It's because I enjoy all of it.
Yeah, I enjoyed all of it too. Now I have a question.
Mm,
Now, by being a writer and director, and you're pumping out movies, on a regular
mm.
for the most part, is it hard to turn your brain off during your free time, or are you constantly thinking about ideas and scripts and movies, or are you able to separate that and in your personal life?
Um, well, every now and then, yeah. I mean, my personal life seems to be going okay. I don't take anything for granted, of course.
Yeah.
Um, there's a wonderful woman who seems to enjoy hanging out with me, and she hasn't gotten completely. She actually has worked on several of my films, and so that is a nice, like, she understands it to a certain
Mhm.
extent, because I have when I go home, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, and when I go back there, it's wonderful to see family and friends and everything else. But I, if people say, "Hey, what are you doing?" and I start telling them, of course, the first question is, "Oh, is it on Netflix?" And it's like, no. Is it at the movie theater? And it's like, if it's not on Netflix and it's not at the movie theater, then why are
Doing
you
it.
doing that thing? So they don't get it, and so that's one of the reasons I love living in Los Angeles, is because there are a lot of filmmakers and people who work on films here, and so they understand when you tell them the sometimes less than glamorous truth
Yeah.
about.
I can imagine.
Yeah, because
And
it's like, oh, you're a filmmaker. Where's the pool? Where's the mansion?
exactly.
Well, it doesn't happen right
Where's
away.
your limousine at, Emmett?
What's that?
Yeah. Where's your limousine at, Emmett? Yeah.
Exactly. Hmm. And
Yeah.
the thing is, the movies don't help because the movies make it look like as soon as you're in a movie or you work on a movie or whatever, then you're at the Oscars tomorrow. And
Yeah. It just takes time to build. It just takes time to
yeah.
build. And most people don't know that. They think you make a movie and boom, you're a millionaire.
Hmm.
It works that way for some people, but not majority.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it's every time it works that way for somebody. Like Robert Rodriguez makes his first film for was it $5,000 or $7,000? That was the El Mariachi.
Yep.
And then that's the story that you just keep hearing over and over again. It's like, and I feel like it's to feed the beast, like
Mhm.
get the young people coming from all over the place to Hollywood, so that we have lots of fresh talent all the time, and we're never, we're never at the mercy of of some filmmaker who is maybe a little too cocky for their britches.
That had a fresh
Um,
meat constantly.
yeah. Yeah.
Now, you were the writer on Without a Name. Now, did you take any time to do any research on cults?
Well, first, I'm actually the co-writer. I have a partner named Larry Maraviglia, and he and I have been writing for together. We've been writing for almost 30 years, off and on. And I didn't. I did some research. I've paid a lot of attention to cults. Just out of the corner of my eye over the years, because I've actually known a couple of people who've gotten into some weird situations, and they were a little culty. Um, and one of the things that's so interesting, and also you can't walk down Hollywood Boulevard without seeing a bunch of beautiful, well maintained buildings that are owned by a very notorious cult, which I may probably shouldn't name, although it's easy to find out which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, so you see the success story. It's like, wow, people are, this is not a bunch of people in bed sheets in the middle of the desert. They're right in the middle of Hollywood, and they have limousines and mansions, and so and they love that particular organization, loves to recruit big name Hollywood actors um, to be maybe not act as their spokespeople, but like as as a example,
Yeah.
But one of the things I have picked up on, a common the common trait of cults is that they often start, and the one in Hollywood I'm thinking of is they often start off very how you doing? Hey, can I ask you a few questions? Do your parents understand you? Or do you get along with? You know what I mean? That
Mhm.
would you take this personality test? And we just asking some questions, so that they get a person thinking about their own life. And most people, when they think about their own life for more than 5 minutes, they start going, "Gosh, it's not perfect." maybe this, maybe this person has an answer that because they seem very confident. So,
Now, do you
but
feel like
that's
cults?
yeah.
I would
What's
say,
that?
do you feel like cults take advantage of? They take advantage, but yeah, take advantage of the broken or the weak or the people who are missing something or feel like they're an outcast.
Yes, and it's not limited to cults, of course, but I hate any group that would try to attract the people who are down in their luck in one way or another. Um, to exploit them for whatever reason. I mean, just as an aside, my mother, before she passed away, my sister would go through her mail, my mother's mail, and every other no, I would say 85% of her mail was, "Thank you for donating. Will you donate again?" To
Yeah.
to this, that, what I mean. It was just, and then my sister found on my mother's bank account that there were these recurring charges that $5 a month, $25 a month, organizations that my mother didn't even remember were sucking money out of her bank account. Um, and it was all, everything sounded like a worthy cause. Some of it was political, some of it was save the children kind of thing and everything. So I just, anytime you take advantage of someone's good nature, their trusting nature, there that's villainy. That's um that's a bad thing. And anyway, cults are kind of an extreme version of that because they're not just trying to get your money, they're trying to get your labor, they're trying to get your participation. And but I mean, on the other hand, I always thought, well, what if a cult sounded like really fun? And
Majority of them do sound like they're fun because I mean from this I've never been a cult, but
mm,
I've been in church all my life and um, since I was growing up, and a lot of them, hey, by being here is so much better than not being here, and it's like people who don't believe what you believe or try to talk you out of doing this, you have to get those people out of your life. So it calls you to distance yourself from your family and so forth because
yeah.
this side is right, this side is fun, this side is better than that side. It's a weird thing.
Well, I actually came to kind of a realization, um, because I was raised Catholic, and I have a lot of friends that I met through the church, and I am still friends with them. Um, and the thing was that I realized something recently, which was that there was so much emphasis on what is God's plan for you? What does God want for you? Are you doing what you are called to do? You know what I mean? And I shied away from that aspect of participating in church, partly because I was afraid that somebody was gonna, I don't know, like add, have a spiritual adding machine and just say, nah, nah, nah. Oh, look, I got the answer. You, and they would say, God has said that you need to be, um, an insurance salesman or something like that, and of course I'd be like, well, I don't want to do that. My heart, I mean, inside I don't want to do that, but apparently I'm supposed to because God has called, so I always kind of shied away from the stuff because I kind of felt like I think I know what I want to do. Um, I'm not having as much success at it as I am hoping to have, but I'd sure hate to find out that this thing that I love doing that feels so good. I'm talking about filmmaking. I'm not, I'm not talking about anything else.
He's
It
not talking
sounded,
about being in a cult, guys. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But this thing that I love doing is I would hate to find out that it's not that, oh no, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. So um I kind of, that's one of the reasons why I don't go to fortune tellers or psychics either, because I'm afraid they're going to tell me like, oh man, you got to stop that thing, the movie thing. I don't know where that's
Yeah.
totally wrong. You should be a fireman. It's like I don't feel that anyway. So it all
Yeah,
kind of ties together.
being a filmmaker and being in the public eye, even as YouTubers in the public eye, is it hard to take criticism when people criticize your movies?
I find, first of all, there's a process that I learned a long time ago for dealing with criticism that really helps. Which is I bring a notebook. Like if I know I'm going into a situation where people are going to have comments for me about something that I have done that they have just seen or read or something like that, I bring a notebook so that I can write down the comments. Um, Writing down the comments keeps me from reacting immediately because I'm like, oh, you said that I need the okay, all right, and what was that word? I try to get the comments correct, and then I say thank you, and I try not to respond. Partly because if I respond immediately, there's a good chance that I'm gonna be defensive,
Yeah.
and if you're defensive, I've noticed, when I've noticed that if the person receiving the criticism is defensive, the audience will be very reluctant to continue the criticism. They'd be
Mhm.
like, oh God, this person. All right, oh, okay, forget it. I don't have any comments. So it's a turnoff for the audience to react to what they say right away, and that's too bad because you might miss out on some very useful ideas.
I
Um,
agree.
and also, the other thing is that it also keeps anybody from anybody any of the critics from, because if you're engaged, if you're engaging with one person, and you're just going back and forth with this one person, I'm sure you've sat through situations like this.
Yeah.
The rest of people are like, oh, okay, I gotta,
Yeah.
I had something I was gonna say, but I there's no time, I gotta go,
Mhm.
and so it keeps the comment session moving. Um, if you just write down what they say and say thank you very much. I mean, unless somebody really like, why did you have the girl run out the door at that? Okay, I'll answer a question or something like that. But
Yeah.
and then later, a lot of times I'll look at what I wrote down and I'll say, hey, that's a good idea. I should consider that. Or that's an insane idea, but
The
I'm
person.
glad I didn't say that to the person
Yes.
who said it.
Now,
Because they don't
now,
need to, they don't
yeah.
need to
Now,
hear it.
listen. I'm down for constructive criticism, but it seems like
Mhm.
online mostly. A lot of the criticism is just blatant nasty. It's trolling. It's your movie sucks. It's like
Yeah.
doesn't give reason to. So how do you handle those?
Um, well, if it's in person, um, I mean, I haven't had too many people be real nasty to my face. Um, and I think, but I've had people online be really nasty. Like for example, um, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago, I put a film out um, called "She's Out of His Mind." No, I'm sorry. I put a film out called Beauty, Brains, and Personality. It's called Girls Night In Beauty, Brains, and Personality. And this thing was a labor of love. And I, I was hoping that it would be embraced. I knew it wasn't for everybody, but I was hoping it would be embraced by the people it was intended for. The people it was intended for primarily was young women, um, older teenagers, women in their 20s and 30s, possibly older. But I mean, the main group that it was aimed for was young women, and it doesn't quite cut guys out completely, but I know that a lot of times a guy would, I've seen it where a guy will go see it and then kind of go, I don't even know what they're talking about, because it's a it's about, basically it's about three friends who, one of them makes a really nasty, thoughtless comment to the other two. She says, hey, of the three of us, um, we make up the perfect woman. And the other two say, what do you mean? She said, well, a woman is made up of beauty, brains, and personality. And you're the brains and you're the personality, and I'm the beauty. And she's very pleased with herself. And the other two are devastated. And it's about this, how this friendship falls apart. And that's actually based on a real incident. And when I heard that story, and these women were telling me like, oh my God, it was devastating, how could you say that? And I was like, well, why does that bother you? So that's why I wrote the script, was because I really didn't understand it. And so I spoke to a lot of women about it and everything. And so in the end, I felt like I came up with a film and a play. It was also a stage play at one point that would really could possibly speak to women, but probably wouldn't speak very well to some men, a lot of men. So
Mhm.
I wasn't even aiming for men. Anyway, so Beauty, Brains, and Personality gets out there. It's on IMDb, and IMDb has a way of you can rate movies. And it was like right away, it had a rating. It just had a terrible rating on IMDb. And IMDb allows you to look at your audience demographics, like, who rated it. And what group of the audience rated it and what did they rate it. And I had all these terrible ratings, like it was from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, and all these ones and twos, and of course there was all from men. And I was just thinking, who even asked you to watch it?
I know.
The movie's not for you, and you're just trashing it, and it made me mad. It was like you're
I I agree because
you
as
know
a man,
mhm.
if I was with two of my friends and one of them said, "Hey, I'm the beauty, you're the brains," and instead of what, I'd be like,
You
"Oh,
tell them to
cool."
shut up. Yeah.
No,
Oh,
I'd be
okay,
like,
all
"Oh,
right.
cool, I'm the brains."
Yes.
You know what
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean?
what I said to the women, I said, why didn't you just tell her to go to hell? Why didn't you just tell her to shut up? I mean, because I feel like that's what
Like guys would
a
do.
lot of guys would do. It's just like, yeah, you're
Yeah.
an idiot. Shut up. And and of course they were like, oh no, we wouldn't say something like that. Like that's awful. So I mean, it was like this is a very basic difference between men and women that I don't fully understand, and um, I want to find out. Like I want to learn, and I learned a lot actually making the whole process was fantastic. Um, and I kind of feel like the movie still hasn't found its audience. Um, it's out there. It's on Tubi.
Everybody check it
It's
out.
actually it's called Girls Night in Beauty, Brains, and Personality. For a couple of reasons. It was originally called Beauty, Brains, and Personality. The distributor that took it on wanted to change the name to Girls Night In, so we compromised. So we ended up with this really long um, name but uh, I was very pleased with the way it turned out. But again, I still feel like there's some there's some people I think who would really enjoy this, and I just don't think they've found it yet. So
And the reason I asked you a question, as you know,
yeah.
I talk to lots and lots of indie film
Mhm.
directors, filmmakers, and some of them ask me for my honest opinion, not on camera, but hey, what do you think of the movie? I'm like,
Mhm.
I would change this and that. And some of them are just nasty. The response is nasty, like, well, I don't care what your fucking appearance is. Like, I'm like, whoa, whoa. And a lot of that comes from a certain group of indie filmmakers. I'm not gonna say who, but like
Mhm.
you know what I'm talking about. But it's like
Yeah.
but like they ask for your they like they cannot take a constructive criticism at all. It's like, no, I don't want to know. They ask for your opinion, and then once you give them your opinion, they chew your head off.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's um I don't actually I never ask for anyone's opinion unless they're like, somebody like my family or something like that. I always say, "Did you enjoy it?" Because that's easy to answer, and
Yeah.
and so I've had people say like, well, it wasn't really for me, or something like that, and that's okay. I'm not offended by that. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, but I don't usually say, what did you think, unless we've already got some kind of a prearranged, like, you're gonna watch it or you're gonna read it or whatever, you're gonna tell me.
Exactly.
Um And it's not that I don't care. It's I think the audience tells you what they think while you're sitting there with them. You know,
100%.
you hear the shuffling of the clothes, you hear the coughing, you
Yeah.
hear the that
Went to
tells
the
you what they
bathroom every
think.
2 seconds.
Yes. What time is it? You know, it's so
Yeah.
you I mean if you're and sometimes you can feel it, you know, when they're not paying attention.
Mhm.
And it's hard, but that's honest. I mean, that's you know, people like if you made a comedy, for example, and you're not hearing laughs, that's
That's
honest.
yeah. I never ever
It
shit on
hurts.
movies.
Yeah.
I never shit on any movie. If somebody asked me about it, I never
Hmm.
like actively shit on a movie. I'm just like, oh well, I liked this, and it's like, oh, what didn't you like? Oh, it was a little, long at the end or something. I give my honest opinion. Like if you ask me, I'm gonna give my honest opinion. So, and
Hmm.
that's the way I'm keeping my credibility as a
Yeah.
person who
Yeah.
watches movies. I can't say that every single movie. I can't come on here and say that every movie I ever seen was great, but I can pick up pieces that I did enjoy. Any movie, very few movies that there's something I don't enjoy about the movie or I can't take away from the movie, whether it be the score, the lighting, the cinematography. I can find something great in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's I've come up with a catalog of phrases because I have a lot of friends who are actors, you know, and so
Yes.
it's like come see me in this play and come see me in that, you know. And I also have a lot of friends who are writers, and so um, and my phrases I've come up with phrases that are positive without being dishonest, and sometimes it's like you know like the show's over and they're you know and they're standing there and they're kind of like well you know and I go wow that's you you did that that's good for you you know I I'm so glad you did that. I mean, no, whatever. It's like a lot of things that you could say
Uh-huh.
being without
Mean,
being
yeah.
too, yeah. Good for you. You keep
I
that
like
up,
that.
man. Yeah. Well, the smart ones, they go, oh, you hated it. You're avoiding
Yeah.
saying, you know. But but I am like you. I can usually find something good to
Mhm.
say about almost any. I saw a show last night, um, and it was a play. It was a comedy, and it was a reading of this play. So it wasn't a full production. It was just you know they had actors on scripts, you know, and that can be a lot of fun, um, just just as it is. But I didn't. The play was written. The play was really. Um, it was really funny, but it was also really offensive, and it was offensive in ways that were kind of like, aren't we past style that? You know, like you had like for example, there was a character. I don't want to call him a gay character because he what he did was he tells his father, you know, Daddy, I'm a homosexual, and his father just takes his head off, like, what? You're one of those, blah, blah, blah. Oh my god! And he calls him all kinds of names, and I'm kind of sitting there going, oh my god, you know, like this isn't funny. This is kind of harsh. And then And then later in the play, he meets a very sweet girl who's a little racy, and she takes a shine to him and says, "Hey, what do you say?" It's like the whole play takes place in one day, you know.
Wow.
So
Okay.
she says, "What do you say we run off and and get busy?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know, maybe." And so he runs off with her, and then of course he comes back and he says, "I'm not gay." You know, like I've now discovered that I am not gay. And all I could think was maybe when you and then I was and then I found out the play was written in the late 70s. I was like,
Oh,
okay,
okay. Okay.
because you put that on today, and a bunch of people would just rightly would say, "How dare you reduce something that, a truth that many gay people have come to about themselves to something that you could just switch off with
Yeah,
a
just be
roll in
perverted.
the hay."
I'm not gay anymore. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've learned, and there was other things like that too. It was very sexist, but it was also very funny. So, um, so in the end, I mean, when I was clapping, it was an honest clap. I did find it funny. I did find some of it enjoyable. Some very good performances. Um, I don't think this group should put this play on, um, at least not without a lot of rewrites, which I don't think that they'll do. So, um, I mean, because the writer is still alive, but I don't think the writer is going to be willing to do what I think needs to be done to make that show palatable to a modern audience. Um, but nobody asked me. I,
Yeah.
I was just there to clap.
That's what. Yes.
Yeah, and there was a lot to clap about. So.
All right. So I got a fun question to ask you. Well, I don't know if this is a fun question. This might bring some PTSD to you. What is your number one filmmaking horror story that you have? Like, it was a horrible experience. You're like, oh my God, I don't know how that film got made. Boy, I would never want to experience that again.
Um, I worked on a film a couple of years ago, and um, it was it was it was extremely unpleasant, and the director of the film uh, was angry at almost everybody at one point or another. She was tearing people's heads off. She was sending people home. Get off my set. Stuff like that. And the thing is, I was on the crew. I thought I was supposed to be the assistant director, but uh, at some point between when I was hired and when we actually, when I actually went home, I was reduced to the COVID officer on the film. I assume as punishment, but I don't care. I'm not going to tell you the name of the
Yeah, you don't
film or
have to.
anything like that, but it was just, um, I did have a moment with the director where it was a couple of days before I was done in the film, and I honestly didn't care. First of all, everything I did was intended to make the film better. Every suggestion I made, uh, every everything was just trying to make it go smoothly. I was trying to keep people happy. Like, hey, it seems like it's been a while. Maybe we should take a break because you know nobody's had anything to eat in 4 hours. Like, let's maybe take. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? Trying to take over my film? It's like, I'm just trying to keep the morale up. I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, you're not. She actually said to me, "You're not the director of this movie." It's like, I never said I wanted to be. Um, so I had a one-on-one conversation with the director at a certain point. I had a couple of days left on the movie, and then I was going to go home. And frankly, I really didn't care um, how things ended up because I was so alienated by the whole experience. And the thing is, there were a couple of friends of mine working on the movie too, and I felt bad because I thought this was going to be a good experience. So I actually was part of the reason that they got hired for this movie. So I felt bad for them because it was such a bad experience. But I said to the director, I said, may I speak freely? And she said, yeah, I wish you would. I said, okay, first of all, um, you're lucky that no one has walked off your set yet. I can tell you that 2 or 3 people are very close to just going home. And you know, if you're not done with them, oh well, sorry. Um, I said everything that has gone wrong that I can see since the beginning of this film, I would say almost every bit of it is your fault. You exploded at people. Uh, you've created an atmosphere of distrust and even hatred at times. Um, you're insulting people. I said, and I also said, I'm not even sure I'm going to get paid. I said, I don't even trust you. And she's like, how could you not trust me? I said, because I don't know you. I've never worked for you before. And frankly, this has been crazy. And I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't even come up with the money to pay me. So I'm really, you know, this is not a pleasant. Anyway, she was like, well, of course I'm going to pay you. I said, okay, well, good, but it doesn't change anything else I've said. And I have to admit, it was a relief to get all of that out, because because I'd been biting my tongue and I'd been like, like, okay, all right, okay, just a couple of more days on this, and stuff like that. Just not saying things that I felt needed to be said. And I was really glad that I said what needed to be said. And the thing is, so the next day that day and the next day on the movie were actually quite good. It was,
That totally changed.
pleasant. Yeah. And then the day after that, I think I was getting on a plane to go, because I was only going to work on the movie 10 days. I realized that the reason I was going to go work on the movie 10 days, where even though the filming was 14 days, was because my daily rate that I wanted was higher than the director. She wanted me to take $50 less, and I said no. So the leaving the 4 days early, she was basically paying me the same as if I had worked all the days. But you're not supposed to let the COVID officer, if that's what I was supposed to be doing, they're supposed to be on set every day. So her letting me go early was a big violation, but whatever. But it was a horrible experience. And I will say this, that the actors that I knew before, and then the actors that I met, the actors and crew that I met from that film, we've kind of formed a group, and we've stayed quite close, and we meet every month for dinner, and it's been great. And
amazing.
we don't even talk that much about the movie that we all met on, but we all remember, like, that movie is the reason that we all. It's almost like a war. War buddies. Yeah.
I know war survivors here. Emmett, okay.
Yes.
Where can everyone find you, my friend?
I am. First of all, I think I'm the only Emmett Laverty in the world. So if you do a search, you'll probably just end up with me. But I'm on Facebook, and I'm everywhere. I'm under my own name, because whatever. Every girl that didn't go out with me, it's like, now she knows.
Yes. Okay, he's a big time indie film director now.
Yes, something. Yes. But I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, but not very often. Instagram. I just joined something called Blue Sky, which apparently is going to be a thing. I have 4 films on Tubi, so you can do a quick search there for me. And I have a webpage called emmettlaverty.com, which is a good launching pad for, to find out the other places. Oh, and I wrote a children's book. So,
Oh, and that's on your website as well?
yes, it's called Claudette the Cat, and I wrote it, and I drew and painted all the pictures for it. Um,
Really?
so, yeah, it's makes a great Christmas gift.
Okay, I'm
Um,
definitely gonna check that out soon too.
Actually, can can you give me
Yeah,
10 seconds? Here,
sure.
let me get it.
Look at that.
It's in. Is it backwards? It,
No, it's
on
perfect.
my screen, it looks back. Okay, yeah, Claudette the Cat. Um, it's a picture book. It's about a cat who decides to get into the music industry. Um,
You did all the illustration yourself?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I want to show. Yeah, this is my wonderful. This is her in. This is Claudette in concert.
It's amazing.
I had a ball working on this movie, so it's still out there. If you kids need a holiday gift,
Yes, and you can find that on your website and Amazon, I'm assuming?
yeah, you can get it on Amazon. There is a site called claudettethecat.com that will take you to the publisher. So
Oh, perfect. Well, Emmett, it's been an absolute pleasure, my friend.
for me too.
You're a fan of you comment on a lot of my videos, so I was like, okay, this is someone who actually watches my videos. This is gonna be a fun interview. So, and it's been an absolute pleasure. You can come on anytime, man. And
I
I'd love to have you.
appreciate that. Well, when we finish the movie, I definitely want to share
Yes,
clips and stuff with you. Yeah,
you can definitely do that. Yes, once it's out, come on back on. I'll have a spot for you.
appreciate
Okay.
it.
All right, everyone. Please check out Emmett, Facebook, Instagram. By was Claudette the cat? Claudette the
Claudette,
cat.
yes.
Claudette the cat. All right, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.